Okay, guys, you're live.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We're live, Lee.
Yeah.
We're live.
We are.
We are. So we're trying some new high-tech stuff tonight. Hope you'll hang around and watch a couple of minutes here and into it. We're going to show you some things that you may not be aware a dog can even do. And rather than talk about it, we decided we'd jump out there with our high-tech individual over there and Mr. Sinclair over here. We spent the big bucks. It was what, $12.93, $12.45 or something like that. So we got we got stuff you ain't never seen a dog do, I guarantee.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about sort of the canine, what I would consider the canine ninjas. You know, and before we start, let me be clear on this. There's a lot of dog training and a lot of dog trainers out there, and I'm for every one of them, each and every one of them. What we're going to show you now is something that you don't see in the sport world. You can't go to a competition and watch it. You can't go to a show and see who gets those points. So I'm going to show you things we do in the guard dog industry. 3 o'clock in the morning when they all are all sleeping, or except the ones on the factory shift. And our dogs are working by themselves, and they've got to live through the night. There's the majority of police and protection dogs come from sport, because that's the one place where there's a lot of people writing about what they do, right?
Absolutely.
And you can see them on the field, so you know, oh, that dog bites. But that's not necessarily what translates to an effective street dog. They're tremendous dogs, but they're still not what's on the street. If you think, like, what would you consider the big sports, Scott?
You know, Schützen, I said it correctly. I won't speak much German anymore. Ring sports and the American sports. Schützen is basically you're showing dogs off. You know, you've got tracking phase, obedience phase, and the protection phase, which initializes blinds and targeted grips, or bites as they call it.
Right.
To me, the ring sports are the closest to the street. You know, they have the agility, the skill, the obedience. Then the protection side of it has, you know, the face attack, which is a whole system of bites. They have the fleeing attack with a gun, search, hold and bark, the call off, and the guard call off. So basically, that incorporates a lot of what, and you know, it's all based on points and dog positioning and everything else, but a lot of that comes into where protection work and the real streets would work as up to just targeted bites behind blinds, which is a great thing, and I'm not knocking anybody, but compared to what the real world is, when I'm walking down the street with my dog at 3 in the morning and some thugs come out, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Doesn't it bite and stay there, or, you know, and I'll leave that.
You can, right,
Yeah.
right. And it's just a little thing of interest for the people that may be curious. When there was a guy named Shell Moreau who really popularized French ring in this country in the 80s and 90s. And when I started working on the Canine Pro Sports format to come up with a civilian security dog certification system, Mr. Moreau was kind enough to take his ring experience and work with me to help me formulate a lot of what we do in Canine Pro Sports, because I have great respect for the ring trainers and decoys. They do a tremendous job. And you know, if you're going to take a sport dog straight to your house for protection, that would be the sport dog that would need the least transition.
And if I may, the reason I believe that also is the dog is not, bite you anywhere in the body, it doesn't matter in French ring. It's not an arm bite, not part of the leg bites, it's still full mouth bites or grips. I'll be politically correct here, but it doesn't matter in the body where it is. And it's not focused to tunnel everything in.
And another thing, for those of you who are not familiar at all with either French or Mondial ring, the French ring especially, the decoy's job is to dodge the dog.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to make it hard for the dog to bite. So again, a little more street oriented, because not many people that see a dog coming at them go, oh, come bite me here, or here, or here, or So it's pretty realistic, but we still do some things differently in the guard dog business, because again, as I've explained on numerous videos, the guard dogs don't have a squad of police officers or a handler even to back them up. If someone breaks into that site, the dog's gotta stop that person on their own. And if that dog bites and just kind of sticks in one place and doesn't move, you know, a person in real pain that really panics sometimes can be more formidable than someone who just, you know, thinks he can whoop you. And anything becomes a weapon. They can reach over and pick up a tree limb and go to beating the dog.
Generally, you got a bite and the adrenaline's pumping, you do whatever you gotta do. And might I add that it's guard dogs, but also very much tailored towards the personal protection dogs. Because when you're home in the middle of the night, somebody's sitting, there's not a squad of cops there, it's you and that dog.
Good point.
So,
Yeah.
so this is all transferring to personal protection dogs based off the guard dog. This is Mr. Capel's experience.
Mr. I got a trade.
It's almost Christmas.
Checks in the mail. Oh.
I'm working it.
working it. Hey, so that's we've got a new y'all. We've already flubbed up one high tech thing we thought we had. We're gonna try our latest high tech thing that we base this whole show on. So we're gonna let Miss Carol Ann get us set up. We're gonna turn off the lights here for just a minute. And we're going to show you an actual one of the dogs, my top dog. His name is Cochise, German Shepherd, that I got from Denmark, Thomas Reagan. And I'll show you Cochise doing what I think is probably the most difficult of all the fighting. There's 3 fighting styles. This one is called a rebite. And I'll explain the other 2 in a minute after you see this one, but this is the Cadillac. This is the martial arts. This is the ninja work of a guard dog working on a site by himself. We're going to try and get this screen set up just right. Here you go. This decoy and this particular, or agitator, helper, whatever you want to call it, this is important for the end. This agitator weighs about 180. Cochise weighs about, I think he was a 90-pound shepherd. Let's see what happens when he's faced with something besides someone standing still. And you see the leg bite because the guy was trying to kick him. But what happens if the man all of a sudden reaches down and tries to whoops? That's what happens if he reaches down and tries to grab his collar and choke your dog, which will happen if the dog's doing a leg bite. And then if he comes around with a brick in the other hand, he goes to that bite. And if he comes around with there, he does it again. Now, I know there's people say, oh, that dog was nervous, that's why he's turning loose to bite. That's what somebody said years ago. Now here's where you'll see the power of the dog. And the power of this style, what can happen. They could be out at 3 o'clock in the morning doing something you shouldn't do. He takes 180 pounds to the ground. When he comes around with a stick in his hand, he takes that, and you notice 180 pounds, but this guy is not standing up. And you see the compression on that padded seat. You see how it's stretched out of shape? That is a bite that's going to the bone. And I haven't seen this in years before. I guess we got a slow-mo of it. I didn't even realize that. So again, you have the guys coming, and we know that some of the people breaking in on my guard dogs did try to kick him in the face before they came at him. So now he kicks, the dog meets the kick, takes the man down. You're always better to go upstairs. You want to disable their two weapons, their ability to grab or strike the dog. So Cochise knows that. He always goes immediately after he takes the subject down. And you can see again the compression on that sleeve. And there's your out command and your control. But you can see how that's compressed. You can tell that those bites, obviously if you can bite hard enough to jerk 180 pounds all in their butt, it's a pretty serious bite. And that's where we have the hey, lights, camera, semi-action. That's where we that's where the dogs that are on the street differ from the sport dogs. The sport dogs are very much as capable of learning and doing this because remember the sports, the recognized sports, ring and Schutzen, they really started the certification systems for German Shepherds and Malinois. So this was about finding good breeding stock to continue the dogs, the breeds. Never ever was it designed to show off a police dog or a personal protection dog. This is all the things that we get wound up in America when they first came to this country. And, you know, honestly, there are a lot of kind of guys who think they're trainers that saw this as, well, I can say I do this, and that means everyone's gonna, you know. So the truth of the matter is, these sports are originally certification systems that evolved into sports. When your dog could attain these titles, these certifications, you knew if you put him on the street, he'd be able to do anything he wanted. Now, I can't say whether in the 70s, in the 60s, before Schutzen came here, if all the police officers had their dogs doing this, but I know if you go back and look at some of this stuff, you'll see where they were doing riot control. The dogs never bit and held. They were always
You know, and that brings up a point that I've heard that if a dog is not fully focused on his bite and he's distracted by something else, he's not having the full bite. All these dogs here are trained and conditioned to protect themselves and their owners. Obviously, Cochise was watching exactly the movements, and as soon as that dog would hit, he would go boom, boom, boom. It looked like he bite pretty full bites to me the whole time around.
Yep.
And if there wasn't a full bite, it was a positioning bite where he's setting up his deterrent to take him to the ground and position himself to be in defensive mode.
Right, and you can see he actually thinks if someone's fleeing, like you mentioned the French ring flea, Cochise was trained, everything's high center mass, right? So he was trained to jump. Back then, Ray Allen had a suit that we used that had a big rolled leather covered collar on the top of the suit, and that's what he was trained in. And a flea, where you see people doing what I call the chicken wing, they hold their arm out to try and get the dog to target. And if you do like this on a lot of those suits, it makes the material of the suit on the back kind of make a roll. And Cochise was taught to go high, and he would jump and grab that collar. And let me tell you, when you're running and 90 pounds of a dog doing 30, 35 miles an hour latches onto the back of your neck, you go down like a rock in a pond, and then you face plant. So,
True story.
yeah, so all of these are subtle differences, and let me be clear. I learned these differences the hard way. I lost I think I lost 3 dogs to burglars when I first started my guard dog company. And that's when we had to start thinking, and I contacted some of the existing companies. I was the new kid on the street. They were curious about, because I'd done extensive Schutzen training and a little bit of ring. And the guys in the guard dog business, OK Knight down in Baton Rouge, for instance, they were curious about what I knew to get a little more powerful bite like you get from Schutzen. And of course, I want to know how they kept their dogs alive. Now, there weren't any of them that did the rebite, that was sort of mine. But what they relied on mostly in those days were 2 other forms of training. One called the drag, and that was the most predominant, and the other called the dodge. The drag, if you look at all the sports, they're always biting in and pushing. My theory, honestly, is if it's just on the sleeve, the dog will literally, if you can see his feet hanging as he bites the sleeve, and they hold him in the air.
Immobilized.
Yeah. And if you look at all these wackos on YouTube, You know, they're always catching a dog here and banging him into a wall, and the dog's just getting banged and having the time of his life sucking on his pacifier. So, what we learned in the dog, the guard dog trainers were doing at the time was the dodge and the drag. The worst thing you can do with a personal protection dog is teach the dog to bite into the bite. And I know they say in French ring they want the dog to bite into like the leg. But there's a reason for it. And the reason is simple. You don't want to be jerking your decoy on his butt. You want him to be able to work the dog.
Yes.
So going into the bite makes it easier on the decoy, not a situation you want with somebody who really like to shoot you. So Carol Ann, you got a question?
It says, can any dog be trained to release and rebite like Cochise?
Yes.
I think any dog can be, but let me be honest with you. That was an idea I came up with, and that's my style of training. And it's not an easy form, but absolutely you can. If there's any ones that cannot, it would be the pit bull terriers, because terriers are so big when they bite. But other than that, yes, you can train any of them, and I think they'll train as well. So,
I agree.
yeah. But the other two styles are the drag and the dodge. That's what was predominantly used by the people in the guard dog industry. The drag was used mostly because first, it's a natural way for a dog to fight something. And second, they use mostly large dogs. Big Rotties, Mastiffs, well, they use a lot of Mastiffs, but big Shepherds, big Rotties, big Dobies.
With that being said, Major Jack, back in the day, taking care of bulls, bull games, the dogs, it's bred into them. And Butch is right about the Mastiffs, the way everybody else did. I didn't even cut into that. That's incorrect.
Yeah, right.
Because the dogs inherited, it's in their clay, but the dogs are naturally made to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And so all these guard dog companies did was enhance the dog's desire. So when a really big dog grabs you and starts pulling, 7.5 times out of 10 you go down.
You're done.
Yeah, you're done. The other one is the dodge, which I know Carol Ann's got a question. We'll go into. I'll show you the dodge. That's for your smaller dogs. But what you got, Carol Ann?
Do you train the protection dogs here that way?
We can, absolutely.
Okay.
Our executive protection dogs do, because we have 2 levels. But yeah, our security dogs we don't, because again, that's pretty good. That's like being a black belt.
And the handler's got to be at least a brown belt to handle that kind of dog.
Well, great, yeah.
I don't need a green belt or a black belt. We'll need a belt.
And they're saying that they say Titan is a natural at that. And
Who said Titans?
second win. He
Second
saw that video.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, Troy. You could say Titan is it's a Scotch Nolan. And again, it's a fighting style. And we were doing basic protection training with Titan.
I got a question for you, Butch.
If the decoy, hold on, I want to hear your question.
All right, go ahead.
If the decoys didn't do what they should be doing, Titan would turn loose and rebite a fleshy part.
A few times.
Yeah, a few times. We had about 3 or 4 rookie decoys who never came back. I don't understand it, but what are you gonna ask?
So how competitive was Cochise?
Oh, that's boy, thank you. Warms my heart. That's my boy. Tom Brady competitive.
Okay.
He was Tom Brady competitive. You know, this dog would. We had Thomas and the guys from Denmark here working on a bungee. First time we'd ever worked on a bungee. The guys in Denmark showed me a lot of good training things. And we worked this poor dog. He was running to the end of the 30-foot bungee, and it would jerk him back on his butt. And it was, I won't go into what you use it for, but when you work the dog this way, it's really. And he finally got the bite, and I mean his tongue was hanging outside his mouth. And somebody said something about Butch, don't you think? And I thought, I looked at old Coach, and he was just, all he could do was think about the guy he hadn't been able to kick yet, right? So I said, now let's try one more. Well, he charged down the end of that bungee. He hit that. I should be off on this. He hit that, and not knowing what he was like, this was a Danish military decoy. And when the dog hit, he came around in natural Schützen style. He comes around with a suit wearing, thank goodness, and goes to strike Cochise, who's still on that bungee that's stretched to its max. And he turns loose of this arm without going back, boom! So he was competitive. I didn't mean to get off now.
Well, I was just comparing because the second wing said Mr. Titan's very competitive also.
Yeah, yeah.
So to me, that level of training your dog has to be competitive to
Yep.
a certain level.
Yep.
It's not for everybody, but you can build that confidence and that competitiveness in your dog. You can do that also.
Exactly. And this is where you go back to the dogs that participate and that are bred for Schützen and trained. Because you can gauge that level of competitiveness in those dogs. And then all you gotta do is teach them these other styles. The other style is a dodge. So if I've got a dog that's 75 pounds or more, he can pretty well drag a man off his feet. If I've got a 60-pound Malinois, maybe not so much. 50-pound Malinois. This is where the guard dog people will teach the dog to dodge a grab. So literally, if the dog launches, because we always want him to go high center mass, a human will instinctively cover up his face, even if he's got a pistol in one hand. He'll go, ah! And by the way, they always tend to go with their left hand over their right hand. I don't know why, but they do. It's instinctual. And once he grabs it and goes to the ground, if the guy goes to grab him, these smaller dogs are taught to jump sideways, 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 which eventually will spin the guy down and put him on the ground. So those are your three fighting styles. Dodge, drag, and rebite. What do you got, Curly?
It says, what are the big names in the DDR? Red and black. And it's spelled Sable, S-A-B-O-L-E, Sable?
Sable.
Sable, okay. So what are the big names in the DDR? What's,
The big names?
yeah. And it says red and black sable. I don't understand that question.
You're talking about the pedigrees and the red and black. The red and black, I believe, are mostly the West German, the DDR type dogs. But I've been out of that world for so many years now. I couldn't tell you. Because, you know, I've been so busy at our Western Shepherd project, I haven't kept up with any of the bloodlines at all. And there's no reason for me to. We breed our own pretty salty dogs.
Absolutely.
So, I hope everyone saw something tonight that they've never seen before. I hope you tell all your friends, and people keep reminding me I'm supposed to say, like, click, share, subscribe, whatever. Y'all know whatever you're supposed to do. Brooke, we got another question?
Yeah, they also are asking lineage names.
Lineage?
Lineage names, yeah.
You know, all I can say is I go to pedigree database. If you're looking for lineage of our Western Shepherds, I can give you that, but I really can't, with any expertise, give you any of that stuff. Go to pedigree database and look up and see what you get. Look at the pedigree, look at the titles.
So is he looking for DDR dogs?
Yeah, that's what he's asking, yeah.
You might look up, there's a guy, if you can find him, there's a guy named Tony Floyd who does a lot of shepherds. He knows the import world really well.
This Darren says that his is about 70 pounds at 7 months.
He's got one, okay.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, that's a standard. Sounds like a nice, healthy dog. That would be a male, I'm guessing, Darren, so, unless you overfed him, that's a nice dog. And remember when people talk about the dog weighing 100 pounds, he may not be able to go up a flight of stairs, so, so it's always.
You want to see something that do come over here?
Yeah, there you go. So, again, I hope we got some good stuff. I hope people enjoyed it. I hope you'll tell everyone else about it and subscribe and like and show them this rebite style. And let's see what the world thinks about the open world now that I've let the secret out of the bag.
Absolutely. And for one more thing, before we close out, I will let her ask her question.
They just want to know, they can ask any questions regarding dogs.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Ask a question. Scott said we'll wait for it. All right? Is that what you said?
That's fine. I got another hour, I got another 40 minutes for the Thursday night football, so get him in. Gotta watch the Chiefs.
Darren said the mother of the dog that he has now is about 130 pounds, and the dad's 130,
Okay, so
mom is 90.
your dog ended up being about between 95 and 104 pounds, 105
Yeah, if
pounds.
he's a shepherd, he shouldn't be,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it might be 100, depending on the genes of the father and the pedigree, he'll be,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, 130-pound German shepherd will be dysplastic by the time he's 2.
But what was the question?
He just was letting us know, ask if he can ask any questions and letting us know how big.
Send us some photos of your dogs. I'd love to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, all right, so on that note,
I know it's a holiday weekend next weekend,
uh,
but we are still broadcasting live next Thursday night at 6 p.m.
yep,
If you're not at bowling alley or wrapping presents, you can watch us later, but we'll be on.
yep, yeah, appreciate you joining us. We'll all have a little cup of
Eggnog.
eggnog. Yes, we will. And we'll celebrate Christmas with your family and the way it ought to be. Everybody's going to get out more this year than they did last year.
So,
That's a good thing. Be safe. Be safe. Don't think.
Here's one more question,
Oh, boy.
please.
Okay.
Okay. It says my German Shepherd is confident generally, but always looks, sniffs at the ground when I get him out of the truck to work guard. Even though he will bite, bark, how can I stop this?
stop him from sniffing the ground.
Stop what?
Hold on. He's always sniffing the ground. I get him out of the truck to work guard. Even though he will bite and bark. Oh, he just gets out of the ground. He starts sniffing the ground.
He wants to know where he's at, for one.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
You don't want the dog to come out of the truck ready to go.
Yeah,
I'm interpreting that right.
that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, you want him to come out, and then give him your alert command before you come out of the truck.
That's okay.
And if that doesn't work at first, then set it up with somebody waiting outside the truck. Give your alert command when you come out. He'll see somebody there, and he'll won't be swerved about it, but he'll go back. He'll eventually revert back to checking out.
Check it out, but like you're saying, once you do that, what you're saying, after a while, the dog conditions itself that if you see something moving off site, you'll sniff, but he's still watching. If
Yeah.
that's what you're asking. That can be.
And he says that's correct to keep sniffing, and he doesn't look directly at the people. He doesn't pay attention to the people.
Probably a bunch of ugly people.
No. But what you just said, that'll work. Do that a few times and give him a spook.
Yeah.
All right.
He'll look after that.
Yeah. All them girls are chewing the back end. The guys are going home. And dogs say, I ain't looking at them hicks. Hell no. So anyway, we're going for tonight, folks. We'll talk to you next week. We hope. Please join us.